Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're kicking off another trip with a short hop to Lisbon. I won't say where I'm going to, but if I told you I'm heading to Lisbon to catch a long haul flight, it might give you an idea of at least direction. So yeah, you join me on a bus because my flight is the joint first flight out of Heathrow. It's at 6 o'clock and this is the only way since there's no train at 1 in the morning, rather annoyingly. Yeah, it takes about 3 hours to get here since I live on the other side of London, and yeah, I'm not sad at all. In fact, I just spent a day at university. Yeah, it was my last day of term and I just spent the day at lectures and stuff. Got about 9, had some food, a shower and just headed straight out. It's going to take about 4 flights and 40 hours before I get to my hotel on the other side, so yeah. Have you ever seen Heathrow this empty before? It feels just creepy being here when there's no one around, especially when it's so crowded all the other times I've been here. Also, I know you guys just won't believe me when I say this, but this is my first time flying out of here in 9 years. It's crazy for me to even say it because I come here so often. I pick people up from here 2-3 times a year. I've flown in here myself about 5 times, but I've just never flown out. It's always been Gatwick or Stansted for me, which are my 2 most hated airports annoyingly. It's just funny how bad the UK is at airports because I had to make a separate list of the most hated airports, specifically excluding the UK, because my most hated airports are Birmingham, Stansted, Luton, Gatwick and Manchester, in that order. It's basically just all the UK ones apart from Heathrow and Southampton. That's how woeful the UK is at airports. And one of the reasons why they're so bad is because it feels like they're designed by people who have never flown before. So here's a check-in area. See something that's missing? Yes, chairs. I have 45 minutes until check-in opens and I can either stand somewhere or sit on the floor. How hard can it be to install something as basic as some seats? Every airport around the world have it, but apparently some designer somewhere in an office decides they want to be different and special and not install any. Or maybe they just feel like the plebs of commercial don't deserve it. Or maybe they know that people are just going to hate their airport so much no one want to stay here. It's a shame really because it's a nice airport if it wasn't designed by people who may or may not be drunk at the time. Anyway, here's the departure lounge. We're very early so it's very quiet. Not sure about Heathrow, but in other UK airports this area is crammed full of people with no spare seating during the day. They do it to encourage shopping and stuff, but it's so stupid because the area will be insanely crowded while the rest of the airport is empty. It's just capitalistic greed, isn't it? Anyway, I'm sorry, it has just turned into another episode of me getting angry at brainless UK airport design. I try to stop myself from doing it, but I just can't help it. It's always become a tradition whenever I fly out of the UK. Anyway, I forgot to mention that we are flying out of Terminal 2 of Heathrow, aka the Star Alliance Terminal. Terminal 4 is for SkyTeam plus Middle Eastern carriers like Gulf Air, El Al and Qatar, and Terminal 3 is Oneworld plus outliers like Emirates, Virgin and Delta. In case it's not obvious how weird I am, I play a game called Guess the Terminal, where I just think of a random airline and try to get which terminal they fly out of here. If I've become so good at the game, it's just become boring because I just know most of it by now. But yeah, that's a Swiss A320neo heading to Zurich. It's also departing at 6 o'clock. There's about 4 flights departing at 6, which as I mentioned are the first ones of the day. Arrivals start a lot earlier though. The first ones usually land about 4:30 and by 6 they use both runways for landings until around 7, where it becomes the usual 1 for landing and 1 for takeoff. And here are the ironing boards on board. They're identical to the ones found on EasyJet with the tiny tray table. The legroom isn't actually too bad, at least compared to other carriers like British Airways. I've included part of the taxi as a time-lapse, mainly because I find it quite interesting, especially going past the maintenance hangars and everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, all electronic devices must be set to airplane mode during the entire flight. For safety reasons, use of power banks is not allowed. Use of seat power outlets is not permitted during takeoff, approach and landing. We draw your attention to the safety demonstration. Thank you.
Here we are airborne out of London. It's crazy how quiet these A320neos are. Like, I got super concerned when I first started editing because I thought all my audio was muffled. But then, like, all the announcements and everything sounds normal, so it must be just how quiet these new engines are on the A320neo. It's not as obvious when you're actually there. I mean, it does sound noticeably quieter, but it's not as much as it comes out in video. Anyway, flight time to Lisbon today will be about 2 hours. Let's have a look at what's in the Seatback pocket as we cruise over the ocean around France. Maybe. Anyways, it's just the usual stuff like a sickness bag, a safety card, and a Pringles ad for some reason. Like British Airways, TAP have gone the full LCC route, so there is absolutely nothing complimentary. And here's a buy on board menu. Feel free to pause if you want to have a closer look at the prices, which are decent. You know, I basically just slept for this entire flight because, as I mentioned, I didn't sleep the night before. It's kind of funny how this works because I'm a very light sleeper, so I'll be woken up every hour or two by something. And when that happens, I'll just use it to film out the window, like you see here as we cruise over northern Spain, I think. But yeah, it only takes a minute or two, and I'll be like asleep again right after. I'm not sure if other people are like this, but it basically just means I can get all my footage while essentially sleeping for the entire flight. Pretty cool.
Dear passengers, we have just started our descent. Please stow your hand luggage in the overhead bins or under the seat in front of you. And fasten your seat belts, please. Blankets and pillows must be stowed and left on board the aircraft. We will remind you that all electronic devices placed in the overhead bins must be switched off. If you have a connecting flight, please go to the boarding gate after confirming the information on the airport screens. You will find a team wearing orange vests prepared to assist you at the end of the jet bridge or at the arrival of the buses in the terminal. Thank you.
welcome to Lisbon. Hope you enjoy that approach. It's a bit like the approach into Heathrow where you fly over the entire city on final, so you get some pretty nice views there. And here are my thoughts on the flight.
Welcome to Lisboa. It is now 45 minutes past 8 AM local time. Same hour than in London. The ground temperature is 14 degrees Celsius.
A pretty average European short-haul flight with TAP Portugal. I did pay quite a lot, £160 in total, which includes the price for checked luggage and seat selection. It would have been much cheaper if you book it early, but I had to wait until my university schedule. Like, I really wanted to fly out the day before, but obviously couldn't because of lectures, so this flight was pretty much forced. Other than that, they're not much different compared to LCCs like EasyJet or Ryanair. The seats are the same, nothing is complimentary, and they're usually quite a bit more expensive as well. The only real benefit of flying TAP is that they fly out of London Heathrow compared to Luton, Gatwick or Stansted, so you might be able to save some money on transportation costs to the airport. And also you can book them to connect almost to long hauls. Other than that, there's no real reason to choose them over something like EasyJet. Here we are in the non-Schengen area. I booked this as a separate ticket to my long haul, so I'm gonna have to go through immigration and recheck my bag. That's a Delta 767-400 heading to some far distant land. Knowing Delta, probably Atlanta. Anyways, it's not a big deal because I have 6 hours here, so it's fine. And immigration is right there on the right behind me. It took absolutely ages because there were 10 e-gates for people from the UK, Canada, US, Australia, basically like non-EU but visa-free countries, which is fine most of the time, except 6 or 7 of them were taken up by Americans whose passports just won't scan. Like, there's no staff member there either, so they're just stuck there trying again and again and again and again before shouting to some immigration officer at like a distant booth for help. It's always the American passport though that's having this issue, and it's so common. I feel like it's a 50-50 whether or not the passport will just scan, which is like a total mess. But anyways, that's the baggage reclaim area. Immigration actually took so long, my bag's already there on the belt when I arrived, which basically never happens, especially on a short or medium haul flights. So yeah, I'll end this video here at the entrance of the airport. My voice is absolutely dead, but anyways, it'll be another 3 hours until check-in opens for my next flight, which will be my next video. Thank you very much for sticking around to the end. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you there in my next video. Safe travels, bye!